Three, two, one. Welcome to the David the Dog Trainer podcast, episode 78. We're here today, joined by Leah of Ridgeside Canine, based out of the Canton, Greater Cleveland area. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks.
Excited to be here.
Yeah.
Leah is obviously a dog trainer based out of the Canton area with Ridgeside Canine. They do a lot of pet dog training. Ridgeside is also a branch of, or not a branch, it's like affiliated with, a lot of people have heard of, obviously, Van S Canine, Eric Stanborough, I believe, right? A police canine trainer, very well-respected police canine trainer. What was it, a year or two ago did he open Ridgeside, was it?
It's probably it was a year ago, I think a month.
Cool. Awesome. So, obviously, Leah is heading the show over there. How many trainers are there currently?
There's maybe like 10 of us. It's
10 of them?
like a very tight-knit kind of family, but without being super toxic. So it's really...
Hell yeah. Cool.
Just like the ragtag misfits.
Yeah. Well, listen, why don't you kind of introduce yourself here, obviously. Tell us a little bit about your kind of story, how you got into this and stuff, and we'll start talking some dogs.
Well, I've been training dogs professionally for about 3 years, but I started training for like search and rescue 4 years ago, and that's kind of what just made it all explode for me. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I started things backwards or what is normal for a lot of trainers, but just seeing like my little tiny like Amish fuck up do like really well and excel made me super excited. So I wanted to share that with other people.
Sure.
But I just didn't know how.
Yep.
And I figured people just being able to enjoy their dog and finding things to do with them would probably bring me joy.
Yep.
So I could still keep search and rescue as my passion and my hobby, and then just make people fall in love with their dogs through just doing daily life with them.
Hell yeah. So you started with the search and rescue stuff. And what got you into that? So did you go straight, like, so you got your dog and you started right away with search and rescue training?
I actually didn't. So what I did is I was working at pet insurance, and I made friends with like random people, and I said I wanted to get into some type of dog sport with my dog, maybe nose work, barn hunt, things like that.
Yeah.
So she's half beagle and half cattle dog, so it's like there's maybe something there.
Sure.
So I started talking around, and one of the coworkers invited me to come just evaluate, see what they do, and then from there, Sage was maybe like 8 months old, and then I just started training her for that. For tracking and trailing.
Yeah, that's cool. What's the big pet insurance company around here?
Embrace.
That's the one you work for? Very cool. Yeah, I have a couple of clients and stuff that work there, and I know there's a very wide variety of people that are into all sorts of different like dog activities and stuff there, which is super cool.
It's a really like interesting place to work because you meet so many people, and it kind of opens your eyes to like what the pet world is really like. For sure.
Yeah. It definitely seems like an interesting environment. That's for sure. Very cool. So do you just have your one dog, Sage?
I also have a Dutch Shepherd. She's 3, and her name is Buttercup. Nice. So she's in training for human remains detection.
Nice. That's cool. And is that something you actually want to like do something with?
I do. So she'll probably be certified in August.
Yeah.
So that way we're a part of like our county's first responders unit. Mm-hmm. So if like a few months ago or a few weeks ago in Garfield Heights, there was a house explosion. So we got called out to that.
Really?
So we're able to like search the property and see if the dog's like alerted to anything or showed any interest.
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting.
That's an interesting world. I have obviously little to no involvement in that kind of stuff. I never really did any sort of search and rescue stuff or tracking or anything like that. And I think I saw like on your bio, like you've done a lot of like tracking work and stuff with your dogs. And that stuff is always very interesting to me. I remember when I first started getting into it, the guy that I worked for used to help with like I don't even remember what like department or whatever it was, but this guy had this like hound that would like do tracking work and stuff like that. And we would take it into this field across the parking lot from where we were at, and he would like set up these tracks and stuff and have the dog go on. And it was always it's just so interesting how they like teach it, and they teach the just the keeping the nose to the ground and kind of following the trails and stuff. And I have little experience with that kind of stuff, but it's always interesting. So did you ever have any like so what got you in? So you wanted to search out, obviously, figuring out about the about the search and rescue stuff and everything like that. Did you ever have any big issues with your dogs and stuff that led you to just looking to do training in the first place, or did you kind of always have like a knack for it? Or
So honestly, Sage's first year of life, I was like a complete fur mom and did literally everything you could fucking do wrong for your dog. I was like, you can't correct a dog. You can't do this. She has to be on like bougie food. And then I created a reactive dog and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like fine in daycare, but like on a leash, just a fucking nightmare. Like a bee on a string.
Yeah.
I was like, so I need to try and resolve this.
Yeah.
So I'm the type of person where I like to just take things into my own hands and just try and figure it out and do it. So one day I was just really fed up with her behavior. I was like, I just need to hunker down and every so once in a while, like give her a correction, let her know, like, you literally can't do this. Like, this isn't acceptable, and like take things away from her so that way she doesn't just spiral out of control. Because I don't want to ever be one of those people where it's like, oh, my reactive dog journey for 5-6 years until their death, until they're euthanized because they bit a toddler. Like that's not what I wanted.
That's like one of the things we've talked about a couple of times on the podcast that drives me crazy is like people create these like identities around their dog's behavioral issues.
That's sad.
It is sad. It's like, God, like, you know, it's like some of this stuff, it's crazy, you know, like there's a lot of talk about, you know, people in like board and trains and this and that being like, oh, you know, 2 weeks and everything's fixed and this and that. And it's like, obviously it doesn't work completely that way. But at the same time, there's a reason why a lot of these dogs, you know, even the ones that like people are like, wow, I've struggled with this for 7 years, 8 years, stuff like that, like come here and like virtually like that, like seem like the behavioral issues just like disappear. Right.
I think the structure helps a lot.
Yeah.
Just
big
like
time.
setting boundaries. And I think a lot of people are afraid to do that. Most people are like, oh, I treat my pets like they're my kids, and they really don't. They kind of hold their dogs to a higher pedestal because with your kids, a lot of people have no issues like correcting and giving punishments and setting boundaries and expectations. And I feel like a lot of people just don't do that with their dogs, or they're afraid to, or they're afraid of how they're going to be like perceived to the outside world.
Oh yeah.
I think some of it also comes down to the nature in which how we need to do it. Like you look at with kids and stuff like that, because we could reason with them and verbally talk to them and stuff like that. Like you could give a quote unquote correction or a punishment that's simply just like a stern talking to. Right. But because dogs don't understand that kind of stuff, typically speaking, you know, a correction or a punishment, there's always going to be some sort of either physical or emotional discomfort involved in doing so. And the idea of that, you know, even though it's like the same thing, and like obviously in the dog world, there's not like an alternative to it. That idea is really hard for a lot of people to grasp, I think.
And that sucks because I think people see like their dog have that moment of just like, oh God, this just happened. But I mean, in your daily life, like I probably have like 20 oh God moments. This just happened. So it's like, I mean, life just kind of throws you like those as well. So I feel like if we can grow from it, our pets can too.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, you know, I mean, it's so funny when we see a lot of these dogs that come in for like one-on-one classes or something that, you know, have no food drive and they don't take treats or this or that. And we wind up going through first half of the program, just teaching things through, you know, prong collar training or e-collar training and stuff like that. And then we'll hit that halfway point and we still haven't used like a single treat through the training. And the owner has that moment of like, oh my God, my dog is so much more confident. Right.
Yeah.
And it's so counterintuitive because like what is preached all day long is that, you know, corrections and punishment and this and that is going to obviously make it worse. Or just this general concept that I feel like most owners have of like, you know, how many times you get asked the question of like, you know, why would I use a prong collar or an e-collar or this or that with a fearful dog? You know what I mean? Like why? That doesn't make sense. Why would I add something that's, you know, inherently negative to a dog that's already scared? But all it is it creates more consistency. It creates more routine and more predictability, right? These dogs that are struggling from like anxiety or fear or whatever it may be, or a lack of general confidence, it's just coming from a place of them not understanding what's expected of them, right? And even if it's black and white of like a correction or something bad happens at this exact moment, right? Every single time, as long as that's predictable, I could be confident in how to avoid that thing. But if it's random or life's throwing these curveballs at you that you can never expect, that's where all the anxiety and stuff comes from at the end of the day, you know? So interesting for sure. So so you went from total fur mom to obviously training dogs and stuff like that. I never went through that transition, right? Like I, like from when I got a dog, like I never had dogs growing up or anything. Like I never had this association of just like dogs are just this like, you know, like this humanized thing. To me, I grew up and my parents were just like, it's a dog. You know what I mean? So for me, jumping into the training side of things and coaching people through those types of things, initially I remember like my first couple of years in it, I had a really hard time like relating to a lot of the things people would say from the standpoint of like the fur mom kind of like spoiling and like, this is my human child and all this kind of stuff. Cause I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it's literally a dog, right? And that I think actually hindered me for a little bit because like I couldn't really get to them like emotionally from the standpoint of what they needed to do to adjust it. And I think there's definitely some benefit from your standpoint, having been in that position, being able to relate if these are the adjustments I made, and I still love my dogs just as much as I did here, but like I realize these are the things that they need, obviously. How did that transition go for you? You know, how do you feel like that impacts your relationship you have with your clients or the relationship you have with your dogs or anything like that?
Client-wise, I think it really helps me because I can connect with them and have them feel like they have like a different sense of trust than they might have had before.
Sure.
Because when they meet me, it's just like, who am I? I'm no one to them. I'm no one to their dog. Yeah. And then their dog just spends 2 weeks with me and they're just like, what the hell's going on?
Sure.
So for me, I love it because I can help them not make the mistakes I made and help them have a dog that like I wish I had at like 6 months, a year old, and actually enjoy life more. Yeah. Because trying to work through all of that, it can be draining. Yeah. So emotionally draining that you're just like, why the fuck do I have a dog? So I want to help them avoid that. I want to help them keep their dog. And some people, they get puppies, and that's primarily what I do. And there's like, I'm at my wit's end. And sometimes like, it's a puppy. Yeah. Like, how can you already be over it? But it's just the sense of, okay, they might have tried everything and they just don't have that skill set or that knowledge. So that's why I'm here. And after the 2 weeks, I just drop all the knowledge bombs on them and give them some hard truths. And then life is great. And then you get text messages 2 weeks later of their dog at the pool with them. Yeah. Loving life.
Hell yeah. You know, it's so funny you're saying, like, how can some people be, like, over a puppy so quick? Man, I've met some puppies that are goddamn terrors. I was just having this conversation with somebody. I think I was doing a one-on-one or a send home or something like that the other day. And the person told me basically the same thing. It was a one-on-one class. She had this, like black lab puppy thing. Dog's like 8 months old, 9 months old now or something like that. I was like, yeah, so what like brought you here in the first place? She's like, man, like I got this puppy when it was 8 weeks old. And she's like, I literally spent like every day for like 3 weeks just like crying. Like, what did I do? Because this puppy just freaking terrorized her. Would just like bite her all the time, just go absolutely Cujo in the house. This and that. God. And it's like some of them can be so fucking crazy. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And like it's funny because like then you get like the fucking Joe Schmoes out there that are like, it's a puppy, you just need to try to do this and you need to, just be the alpha and and just do this and do that and everything will be fine or it'll grow out of it. And it's like you haven't met some of the puppies that I've met, man. Yeah. Some of these dogs are fucking crazy.
And that's the issue. I think people have lived their lives with a specific dog, and then they get the dog they've never had before. And that's the issue. Like, I recently trained a beagle, and the family has 3 other beagles, but this one they call her Shady Sadie because she's just like...
Shady Sadie. Hell yeah.
She would just kind of like do shady things. I'm like, oh, well, she's a beagle, so... let's work through this. And, I heard from a friend that they were kind of at their wit's end. Sure. I was like, I'll fucking take this dog. She's awesome. She's sweet. She's awesome. Like, I love beagles. I love hounds. But having that dog you've never had before, it makes it difficult. It's hard when you have the dogs that are just couch potatoes that want to do nothing. And then you have this little one that's like a terrorist running through your house, chewing on your carpet, stealing your food. Yeah, and it's like, that's great. Yeah.
I remember one time, like years ago, I saw... Do you know who Mark Goldberg is? Yeah. Yeah. So Mark, he posts his Goldbergisms, I think he calls them on Facebook all the time. Like little bits of like hilarious like thoughts and stuff. Yeah. And he posted this one time of like, train or owners will come in and be like, yeah, I trained all my dogs up until this point myself. And like this one just doesn't get it. Right. And so Mark is like, yeah. So like, I'll ask him. I was like, yeah. So how many dogs have you had before? And they'll be like, well, I've had whatever at a high number, like 10 dogs before, and I trained them all myself. And he's like, yeah, I trained that many today. Yeah. He's like, so I've seen a lot more temperaments and a lot more personalities in dogs than you have. And that's a lot of it, man. It's like exactly like you just said, is people just like, you get a lot of easy dogs sometimes. And I did the same thing. Like when I got Vera, like Vera is pretty much a cakewalk of a dog. Like the only issue she had when I got her was she pulled a lot on a leash. You know, like she's whatever. She was a young pitty, just fucking jacked out of her mind, and just would yank me all over the place. And I was like, well, we got to get that under control. But aside from that, she's super friendly with other dogs. She's super friendly with other people. She was great in her crate right off the rip. You know, like housebreaking and stuff like that. Was a little bit hard initially, but that was just because I didn't supervise her ever. So it wasn't even like a her problem kind of thing, because as soon as I did, she was fine. And then after that, I got fucking Vinny, who is a psychopath. He's a Malinois, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that contrast that I saw from her to him was like the most dramatic change you could ever experience between two dogs.
Yeah.
And that just completely opened my eyes. And then, you know, I got another dog and another dog and another dog. And you realize that every single one of them is a complete individual, right? And that's the interesting thing about training is, you know, I'm not so much a believer that like every dog needs something different from a training standpoint, because like if you look at it, like animals learn the same, you know what I mean? Like the concepts you're using and the mechanics of the training and stuff like that applies to every single dog, but every dog's temperament needs something different from you as far as how you implement that training. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing we try to get, you know, people to realize, and we've been talking about so much on the podcast, is just like not every dog is going to turn into this. You know what I mean? If you have this like specimen of like this is what a dog should be, not every dog can get there, right? And that doesn't make them bad, but it just means that you have to cater your expectations. You have to cater the things you do with them as an individual to help them thrive. And that's something I feel like just so many owners are not understanding. And I think, frankly, a lot of trainers aren't necessarily understanding too, because they're kind of preaching too much of a like fixing concept, you know?
Not every Vinny can be a Vera.
Not every Vinny can be a Vera. But you know what? He could be the best Vinny that he can be.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. So what sorts of things right now? So like you've been obviously training, and like kudos to you. Like, I mean, from the standpoint of like the structure of your program, like you're doing everything like we were talking about right before we started. Like you're doing this all out of your house. You are the one working with the dogs. You don't have like other people that are coming in and like training with them and stuff like that. So like you're really heading the show. What sorts of things in the last year, like what have been like some of your biggest like learning like curves and stuff like that you faced? Like what do you feel like has really like excited you in the dog world right now?
Getting my hands on as many different dogs as I've had. I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah.
I've made friends with some really awesome breeders just working where I work and getting to see like what well-bred dogs are like compared to, you know, some of the shelter dogs that just aren't working with the best genetics. So that's just been like eye-opening, aside from like search and rescue, seeing that from that side. But it's just so cool that the amount of trust people have with you after meeting you for 30 minutes and just letting you take their dog.
Yeah.
And even if like the dog's like freaking out at first, it's like, it doesn't look great, you know? It like probably they're just staring like, oh God, my dog's like terrified of her right now.
Yeah.
As like you're walking outside, you're like, I got her. We're all good. Thank you. Bye. Leave.
Yeah.
And then you send updates and their dog's like super happy, and then it just makes life great.
Yeah.
But I think like being like a newer trainer, I think what I kind of wish like I knew now or then or however it is just taking time for yourself too, because I feel like you just get so excited to do something with all these dogs and have all of this new motivation that you kind of like sometimes maybe forget yourself. So I'm always like telling like my friends who are trainers have been doing it longer than me, just to take time for yourself. Like you're important too. Like you can't pour from an empty cup. So
yeah, for sure. I think that's the biggest downfall to a lot of the in-home stuff. Like, I think it's phenomenal for the dog, obviously, but for the trainer, it can be so exhausting. I have a buddy that's in like North Carolina, like the Charlotte area, and I met him maybe like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that, and you know, he does all in-home dog training, and he's just like blown his business. I mean, he's done phenomenal, right? But one of the constant things that I'm talking with him about, like every like maybe 4 or 5 months, something like that, we'll hop on the phone, chat for 30, 40 minutes, is, you know, he's trying to find new ways, same deal, to give himself that relief. And he's figured out a great structure from this standpoint of like, he does like I think he does 3-week board and trains. And I think he follows a very, very strict 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off approach And like that's been just like the absolute like perfect routine for him, because for 6 weeks he's fucking on. I mean, he does like 5-6 dogs at a time. Like it's all out of his house. He's the only one that's doing it. You know what I mean? And that is absolutely exhausting and draining, obviously.
It can be. That's why like I try to limit myself.
Yeah.
Like I want to be the best I can be, and I always want to feel like I can take on more, but it's not fair to anyone. It's not fair to myself. It's not fair to my clients. So like I'm very strict on how much I'll take on at a time, especially if like I'm boarding dogs. If I'm like watching them while they're on vacation, I'm very strict on the dogs I'll watch now too, because sometimes owners don't keep up with things, and that can be a downfall, and you're just throwing this dog back in an environment that's familiar, but they're just as confused as like day one.
Yeah, and obviously, like certain dogs, like we talked about, with like different temperaments, like some are going to be easier than others, obviously, and some of them are going to require a lot more like mental strength from you if they're boarding. Like if you have 4 dogs in at once that all are there for like separation anxiety issues and, you know, crate anxiety and, you know, house breaking and stuff like that, that's going to be so much more exhausting than if you have like 4 adult dogs that are just like good.
Yeah.
They're just hanging out on place all day, chewing on Benebones, living their best life.
Just living their life. We'll get that sometimes too, like where, you know, we I would say maybe once a round or once every other round or something like that, we'll get like a truly like aggressive dog in, you know, and same deal. Like, you know, if there's just one of them in, it's like whatever, like it's not that much of an adjustment to the routine, you know, our evening runs and stuff like that. You know, we staff a trainer on it to help with the dog and this and that. And ironically, like we had, just with the holiday and stuff, we had like 4 of them board like last weekend, you know?
Yeah.
And same deal. It was like, God, like we got 4 of these dogs that now have like special handling, like routines and stuff like that we need to make sure we have like extra staffing for. And like every single run that we need to do with this dog like takes up like an extra like 45 minutes for us to do and stuff. So yeah, 100%. I mean, being picky about the dogs that you're having in, especially in your position, is definitely key.
Yeah. And I don't really focus on like behavioral things.
Sure.
I like to just stick with puppies because it keeps me going. It's fun.
Yeah.
I like admire like the behavioral work that you guys do and like some of the trainers at my facility do. But for me, it's just, I feel like that's very mentally taxing. And I feel like that takes a lot out of you because it's so much focused on the behavior where it's just a lot goes into it.
It's also like it's emotionally draining from the standpoint of like, you know, like the success rate on those dogs isn't as high. You know what I mean? So like then you get into, you know, with puppies and stuff like that, like, yeah, you can kind of train them, send them home, and there's going to be issues they reach out to you about, but they're not like dire things.
Yeah.
You know, like I think you messaged me, like we did the podcast, like, what was it, like 3-4 weeks ago, we were talking about like 3 different like basically explosions that happened with like dogs that we like had to deal with, where it's like that kind of stuff. It's like, God, like it is emotionally exhausting when you're dealing with that. So yeah, for sure.
I had a question because I think it's a great thing for trainers that are getting into this and don't have a facility, you know, because like you said, it's all you know. So how do you balance, I don't know, having, I don't know how many dogs you do at a time or whatever, but how do you balance that with your own dogs and your own life, like in your house, you know?
In the last few months, I've found kind of like what works for me. I bought like this big ass dry erase board, and I just write out all the dogs I have. I try to do 2 to 3 training at a time and maybe 2 or 3 boarding at a time. So that way, like, I'm not mentally exhausted because I know what I can handle.
Sure.
So I'll write down like, okay, this is what we did this morning. And then an hour later, this is what we're going to do now, an hour later. And I'll do that from like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Of just that throughout the week. And then the weekend, maybe it's not as like rigid for me. I'll take a little bit more time for myself. So like I'll do things like go take my Dutchie dock diving and just enjoy that, or the search and rescue is like an outlet for me. So I'll just have that for my dogs. So I know that they're still getting fulfilled. And even if it's like I'm up until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, like I'll walk my dogs too, just to make sure they're getting something out of it. And I also just try to train my dogs as much as possible, like with hand feeding.
Yep.
Just so that way I'm just working with them. So that way I feel like they're still getting something from me, because I don't want them to just sit in a crate all day, feeling like a back burner type of situation.
For sure. Yeah.
Do your dogs integrate pretty well with like all of the dogs that you get in and stuff?
Buttercup does really well. Sage just doesn't really care about other dogs.
Yeah.
She's just like, leave me alone. I'm going to sleep on this cot. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
Like she's not really phased, but she's just not social. She doesn't care. She just wants to do her own thing. Buttercup's like, needs to be in everyone's face. She's 0 to 100.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to be everyone's best friend, human, animal, anything.
Yeah. Vinny's that way. He's like, he has grown to love all of the other dogs in the house here.
Yeah.
But like, it was like a long progression. Like, it's so funny. Like, the first time I ever saw him play with Waffles, our new puppy, it was just like, oh my God, like, is he doing it? Is he actually, like, he wants to play? Because like for the first like 3 months we had Waffles, like he tried to get Vinny to play with him so bad, and Vinny would just like growl and walk away, growl and walk away, growl and walk away. Just like, get the fuck away from me.
Finally
So
gave
annoying.
in.
That's how Sage was with Buttercup when I first brought her home in January. She was like, what the fuck is this thing?
Yeah.
Because it's just this wild, crazy dog that is like, all right, well, we're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And I just slowly integrate them together to where, like, I can just let them be off leash, like, in the woods with me, and they're just happy running around, chasing the different scents and coexisting.
Yeah. So would you say your passion for dog training right now is still really in like a lot of that like search and rescue world and like tracking world and stuff like that?
I think so. I really love the detection side of things,
Yep.
but I like that's not my job.
Yep.
I like that I can keep it my passion.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the obedience side of it for puppies, because I still get fulfillment.
Jeez. Yeah, no, 100%. You know, the second you start like needing to do a lot of those types of things, it becomes way less fun for sure.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So how hands-on are you, or do you have the ability to be with like, so doing the tracking stuff and all that kind of stuff with more of like the actual like the I don't want to call it the sport world because it's like real life obviously, but like the stuff that Eric does and stuff, like do you have the ability to go and like work with him sometimes and like you know, do you do tracking stuff with him frequently and things like that?
I've actually been having him help me a lot more with Buttercup for her human remains detection, because I didn't really know what I was doing when I was trying to do it with Sage, when I was trying to like make her more dual purpose.
Yeah.
So I went to him and asked him for his advice and got a lot of like, I was able to pretty much start her in February or March, and like 5 months pretty much have a certified dog. So
yeah. And is the process of training for that similar to like narcotics detection and stuff? Like, do you do a lot of like box work and stuff to teach the odors? Or?
that's how we started it, but it's also you need to have like a wide variety of like human remains. So like I have a specific like freezer with a shit ton of paperwork, so that way if like the cops ever like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. It's not like I look like Jeffrey Dahmer or someone, just like with all of that.
Is it like, do they have like artificial odors and stuff like that for that?
They do, but we try our best not to use it because we don't know how close it is.
Yeah.
So we'll go to like a coroner's office or a medical examiner or whatever, and they'll write it off for us and give us, you know, either half a body or parts of a body, whatever we need. Sometimes they'll say, here's an arm.
Hold on. So do you like literally have like an arm in your house right now?
It's in my garage.
I mean, it makes total sense. I never thought of it though.
So I mean, can anybody just go and get one of those, or do you have to have like a certain license to do it?
You have to have, so because like my search and rescue team works with like all of the various law enforcements. Yeah. We have like a ton of paperwork and I don't even know how we do it, but
oh my gosh.
Like sometimes we'll get like messages on our like Facebook account like, hi, I just had a baby. Do you want my placenta? It's like, okay, sure.
I guess that would be an odor as well, right?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
And is it Sage the one that is from?
So Sage does the tracking and trailing.
Does the
so
tracking
she's
and
certified
trailing. Okay, so
through NAPWADA for that, and then Buttercup will probably be certified through NASAR
Okay,
and
yeah.
NAPWADA.
So, okay, Buttercup's the one.
So do you like practice that a lot? I mean, what's your how often are you working on like for example, the human remains detection, right? How often are you working on that? Where are you going to work that? Do you know, what's your routine as far as kind of training for that? Because I know it sounds like
I
you're
try
trying
to
to
go
really
everywhere as much as possible. So I became friends with some of the local police departments. So I'll contact and be like, hey, is it cool to have my dog off leash here? Yeah. Can I do this? Can I do that? So I'll try to go to local parks. I'll try to go to like factories or buildings that might be run down, wherever like I can get permission to go, just to give my dog that environmental like difference. That way she's like, oh yeah, I can do this anywhere. Yeah. Oh cool, this building has like random odors, but here's this source, so this is where we're going. Yeah.
Do you have any like spots in your house that your dog likes to go and just like chill by, that maybe there's like a body buried under the floorboards or something?
I try not to think about it. I've never like asked her either of them to do it, because I'm just like, when I bought my house, I was like, yeah, there's something just seems off, but
Old
that's fine.
pal, strange place.
Well, for Buttercup, do you, I guess, for the body detection training, like, do you just do that pretty much at home, or is his name Eric?
Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, Eric, or you just do it there? Because I feel like you can't just bring.
No, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
I guess if you
Like,
have
what are
the,
you
I
gonna
mean,
do? What are you gonna say to me?
That's
Who's
true.
gonna say
Yeah, yeah,
something
That-
to me?
That's true. Just about.
now give me the
Got
context.
my arm
here. So
here.
you're saying you use like obviously actual body parts. Do you have like small little things that you can go and hide somewhere?
Yeah.
You got like a pinky or
Yeah,
like
so
Yeah.
we were donated like an arm, and then our other detection handler and I, we had to like sit at her farm and just like dismantle it like a psychopath. So they're like, "Here's this arm, figure it out on your own." I'm like, "Oh shit,
crazy.
okay."
That is awesome, though.
It is
Like
so crazy. You would never you don't think about that, right? Like so,
No.
like my brain just goes to like again, like we like Jake did like a lot of the detection stuff, and like I kind of like dabbled with it with a couple of different dogs and stuff. And we had obviously the artificial substances and stuff, right? And we would use that, and from basically what everybody said is it was like close enough where it could simulate the real stuff. And then I know obviously with like police departments and stuff like that, like they'll get access to like the actual stuff, right? So you could train for like a legitimate drug, right?
Yeah.
To really proof the dog around, but a lot of the training was done with like artificials. So I just kind of assumed in my mind like something like that would be, either artificial or does it work the same way with like, say like cremated remains or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think
So-
something like that would be like more digestible for a lot of people than like literally like here, let me put this hand over here for my dog.
Yeah,
love
I mean,
that,
it's
though.
morbid. That's why, like, I just try to have a sense of humor about it. So if you like
Yeah.
think about it too much, and you're like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, like,
It's the initial shock value of like, oh wow, like legitimately that's what you're using for. But it makes sense, obviously.
Yeah.
So
No, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah,
This just like turned really interesting.
yo, isn't it wild though? Like when you get into like detection dogs and stuff, like how many different things that they could like be trained to detect. Like
Yeah.
I remember when like bed bug dogs was becoming really popular, and like I think for a while they were talking about having like COVID searching dogs and stuff, and
Yeah.
like all of it is just an odor. Like same deal with the diabetic alert dogs and stuff. Like everybody's like, oh, how do you train that? How do you train that? It's an odor, right? Your saliva smells different to the dog when your blood sugar is
Yeah.
low.
Actually, we just saw this yesterday on TV while we were at the sushi place, but it was just so funny that we were there. But in Florida right now, there's a town that is completely quarantined because of these giant snails. I kid you not. So there's these big snails from Africa, and
How
they
big
get
are we talking?
like 8 inches. They're like
Can
this
you
big.
imagine seeing a snail that
Yeah.
big? Like
But-
just out of
I'd move.
But the reason
Terrifying.
the reason that they're like worried about it is because they carry meningitis, which
doesn't sound great.
no, it like inflames the barrier on your brain and you can die. Like it's really a really bad disease. But they were teaching dogs to detect the snails, so they
the
could
dog
find the
gets
snail.
meningitis instead of the human.
Hopefully, I think there's a vaccine for it. So, but the dog finds it and then they dispose of the snails. But it's crazy that we're talking about this today because they had to like teach these dogs like how to track these snails, the certain snail.
Torch the whole town.
Yeah, honestly,
Wipe it clean.
I was like, this really makes sense in 2022. Honestly, like giant snails that are giving people meningitis. But it was really cool because they had detection dogs to find them.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a wild world. It's such a wild world. I had a client of mine that was like, into obviously the explosive detection, and like I asked him one time because he brought his dog for some like behavioral training to me, and I was like, so like he was like working full time with this dog doing it. I was like, who's like hiring you? Like where like are you going for this and stuff like that? And he told me it was like a lot of churches and stuff would hire him.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's again morbid and like freaky that like churches are scared people are gonna come in with explosives. Obviously,
Yeah.
he said a lot of churches before like big gatherings and stuff would hire him to come in and then just search the place with his dog and just make sure everything was clear.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Super cool.
Well, and it's cool, like for you, the Garfield house that exploded, like they had you come out there for that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I feel like those are things that like people don't really think about.
Yep.
And they're like,
Yeah.
oh God, what we're like, I don't know. It's just part of my life now. Like it's
Yeah.
it doesn't really affect me like in a negative way. It's something I really enjoy doing because I get to help people.
Yeah.
Of
Like, I
course.
don't know if it's like so much bringing closure to people because maybe it's not that. Maybe
Yeah.
that's not the word to use, but like I get to help my community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's something
exactly.
that brings me a lot of joy.
I remember, watching videos and stuff, even after like 9/11 and stuff, when they were using all the search and rescue dogs and going and like, probably human remains dogs and stuff like that, going in trying to find people as well. So
Yeah.
wild, very cool world. So is there like an aspect of dog training right now? I mean, obviously it sounds like the puppies, right? And the like working dog stuff, right? But is there like an aspect of dogs that right now, like if you get on like your friends like get on a conversation about it with you, that you're just like, this is what I freaking love, You like just talk about it forever with them.
I like when I can actually give my friends aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my friends is living with her parents and like they have a dog. It's been her dog her whole life, but they're just kind of like, it's a dog, let it be a dog.
Sure.
So when I try to give her advice and help her and it works out, it's just for her, it's just like, that fucking worked.
Yeah.
Like my dog's not running to the door attacking people now. That's awesome. And it's like, hey, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So it's like little moments like that just make me so happy. That's like, you can literally give someone just like 5 words of advice or 5 sentences and be like, bam, you made a difference. You impacted them somehow.
Yeah. And it's interesting that like sometimes like that aha moment isn't even like a like go do this side of things. It's more just like a like I have friends and stuff that have dogs too that'll come over and like again at this point, unless somebody verbatim is like, yo, how do I fix this thing? Right? Like I stay so out of those conversations at this point. But sometimes I'll hear them talking about something and they'll be like, like I don't understand this, right? I don't understand this behavior my dog's exhibiting. And the aha moment isn't how to fix it. It's just telling them this is why your dog is doing the thing they're doing, And they're like, oh, wow, that actually makes complete sense. I think I had a couple recently with like one of my friends who has 2 dogs, who's trying to make sure that she's Alex. She's really scared her dog is going to like kill this new puppy that she got irrationally, right? Irrationally scared of it, right?
Yeah.
So same deal, like helping her understand just like why her dog is not as bad as she thinks she is, and like how some of the issues she's had in the past are like not really dog issues and stuff like that. Like that's always really cool. And then we got a couple other friends that have dogs that same deal, just have like miscellaneous issues where it's like, well, your dog is just doing this because of this, right?
Yeah.
And just getting them to like realize that and click. And then you start seeing them on their own kind of figure out the path to that solution just because they then understand the problem, That stuff is pretty sweet. So what do you find? So you get people that bring puppies to you a lot. What do you find common issues people are coming for? Is it primarily just like housebreaking and stuff, or are a lot of people just trying to like set the dog up right to start?
I think a lot of people are trying to set the dog up right, but also the dog is just doing behaviors that they don't appreciate, that they don't want, and they don't realize it's just you need to set boundaries and structure. Like you do it with anything in your life.
Yeah.
And they just don't realize you can do that with your dog. I don't know why. I mean, I guess from personal experience, just like, oh my God, my dog has to be a part of my life. And they're just this tiny little fluffy thing. It's not a real thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
What's some like give people some so I have a lot of people that call, they have puppies, they're like, I got an 8-week-old puppy, whatever, I want to start training with it. We personally don't start training the puppies until they're about 14-15 weeks old or so, as far as when our one-on-one programs will start. And they're always like, what the hell do I do in the meantime? I got 7 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that. What are like a couple bits of advice you would give people as far as like, you just got this 8-week-old puppy, like how do they set themselves up for success in a way that's like gonna need much less training to fix those issues later on?
I think some key things are crate training. I used to be like, oh, you can't do that, but I think it helps a lot of issues. It helps keep your dog in a better mindset. It helps them not fuck up your house. It helps them just fit into your life better. And hand feeding, I am a big fan of just working and having your dog be engaged with you, because if your dog sees value in you through their food and they're working for it, I think it also helps them not just like graze and get fat and be like just these insecure dogs. So I think your dog being able to see you as like that successful leader for them really helps set you up for success.
Talk about the hand feeding here, right? So like that's something that I think is extremely beneficial, especially when you get into like young puppies and stuff like that. Talk about like obviously you said it helps them see you as somebody that's like providing value and stuff. But like, how's that gonna? How do you correlate that hand feeding then into like the training and stuff that you're doing with the dog?
So I always start every puppy out with just engagement. So every time they look at me and give me eye contact, I'll mark it with yes, reward them food. So that way I can make their meals last throughout the day for me. Some people are just like, I just throw the bowl there and they go for it. It's like, well, then they're just getting something for free. Like freedom is probably the highest reward for any dog, but I want that dog to earn it. I don't want them to just be given things because they're cute. That's how shit goes wrong.
It's true.
Yeah.
So it always starts off with just engagement. Like you look at me, you get food, and then I'll start luring and free shaping behaviors. I want to try to do things with as little force or as little pressure as possible. So that way it becomes something that they want to kind of do more. So that way they see the value. And it's like, oh, they lured into a sit. Sweet. They maybe got a handful of food this time. Like, that was fucking awesome. Let me see if I can get that again. And I'll just vary the reward. I'll use 1 kibble, 5 kibbles, handful of kibbles, or you get your whole bowl. I don't really care. But if you're, you get what you put into it.
100%. What do you get puppies that come in that owners have just like fed them out the wazoo and their food drive is just like very minimal?
Yeah.
And how do you work on increasing that?
I'll talk to the owners and ask them if they're okay if like we skip a meal, or I'll try and find something higher value knowing that I can drop it later on.
Yep.
So I like to use all like freeze-dried food, things like that, because a lot of dogs just love it. And that way it's just dog food. It's not actually like I'm giving them like what I eat. It's still just Redford freeze-dried dog food or ZWE, whatever. So that way it's like they feel like it's something a little bit better than what they have.
For sure. It's I went in and out with the like types of rewards I would use, and interestingly enough, like when we talked to Taylor from Proper Paws, who we had on like for the podcast a couple weeks ago, she was talking about how she always 100% of the time wants to find for every dog she works with, at least initially when they start training, like the highest value thing she could possibly get for them. And I used to, for a while, I was like, well, every dog has food drive, which I still think is true, right? And I think every dog can develop food drive for just their kibble and stuff like that. But when you're working with these dogs that just have been getting the same thing over and over and over again for like their whole freaking life, and maybe have been overfed a little bit, so their drive for it isn't that great to begin with, in some cases, you're going to spend so much time like reversing that and fixing that and developing the drive and stuff like that. Where like sometimes, just kicking up the notch and just getting something crazy high value is just going to kickstart you to that while you're working on fixing the whole feeding issue to begin with. Like I remember when we first started training, we used the Red Barn food rules for a while. And like, I'll tell you, we didn't have to mess around with feeding schedules with dogs a whole lot because pretty much every single dog we worked with just thought that shit was crack. They were so pumped for it, and like, we were just able to get so much better engagement and stuff like that. And that's actually something we somewhat recently changed. I would say even in the last couple months, as we start telling people to bring like a specific training treat with them and stuff like that in addition to their kibble. So we could use the kibble if we can, but we do have something a little more high value to help them work through like difficult things or more stressful times or whatever it may be. And I actually have started in like board and train send home lessons that I do and stuff. Even if the dog had been working for kibble the whole time, I'll bring out the higher value training treat just for that session, just to gain myself like just that little extra pop out of them.
That's what I try to do too, just so that way like the dog is like super happy to work for me. So
they realize like, wow, this is even better because I got to leverage a little more attention even, against the owner. And it's cool. You were talking about engagement and like teaching it with puppies. And I'll tell you, there is just so much value to like, if you could establish that early on, you just create this association with yourself of just being fucking like God to your dog. You know?
You're just like the bee's knees for them. They want to do everything with you. They want to be with you always. If they get a correction once in a while, they don't care because they're like, holy fuck, she gave me life, essentially. Like,
they rebound from that stuff so much quicker than at that point. And like, it's funny because like, even when you like don't do the engagement stuff anymore with them, like you still have that kind of like built-in like conditioned association of like, you take them out to do something and they're just like, boom, just focused, I think that stuff is really cool.
I enjoy it. I get a lot of puppies that are kind of like shut down, I guess, where like they're terrified of everything. So I'll do like a lot of scatter feeding where I'll just scatter the food around me because if they'll at least eat, I know they're comfortable enough where I can work with them to get them to eventually be engaged with me and want to work with me. And just little things like that. Like some of my friends will make fun of this, joke about it, and be like, oh, the power of food. And it's like, but it is powerful
really
sometimes.
It definitely is for sure.
It's like a great motivator for dogs. And I feel like you just gotta every dog's a little bit different in terms of like maybe they want to work for a toy.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Talk about genetics with puppies and what you've seen with that, like as you've been working with different types of dogs.
Oh boy. I feel like a lot of people get a dog that they didn't want that exact dog. Like they got a dog, like some people get shepherds thinking it's the cutest, fluffiest teddy bear, and then they're wondering why their dog is resource guarding them or their kids or everything in the world. It's like, because you kind of taught your dog to do that. Like, and they also, maybe they got them from a breeder that's not so great. So it's just, they're not working with like a full cup there. So it's just trying to figure out like, okay, how do we work through that? How do we do this? I feel like some people just need to understand, like, when you get a German Shepherd, I feel like every German Shepherd has that tinge of anxiety in them.
Yeah.
It's just who they are. It's just, it's just been bred so far in there. And same with like herding dogs. They're all just kind of a little neurotic.
Yep.
And it just makes sense because that's kind of their job, to be OCD about how they herd, how they do things.
Yeah.
And a lot of people breed for specific things. So you can't be surprised when it kind of falls through and trickles down through the breeding.
Yeah, shepherds in particular, it's so funny. Like I always say, like when we get a call from somebody, they could either tell me the behavioral issues their dog's experiencing and not the breed, and I'll know it's a German Shepherd, or they'll tell me it's a German Shepherd, and I'll be able to tell them the behavioral issues they're experiencing before they even tell me, and they're like, yeah, that's actually 100% it.
Yeah.
They are like every single one of them is just like the same fucking dog, like just like on a different spectrum of anxiety. Like some of them are just goddamn messes, like just absolutely the most frantic, anxious dogs in the world. And then other ones have that like channeled anxiety of like, I'm so high strung right now, but I'm focused.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, yeah, it's that obsessive nature they need to have. Like you figure that's why, like when you get into like the breeding of these dogs, what I seen with Malinois when we were doing a lot of sports stuff was they do these like tight line breedings to stack these fucking traits that they have to be obsessive over biting or chasing or tracking or like any of those types of things.
Yeah.
You wind up just like kind of creating like little monsters out of it.
I think that's why I like hounds, because it's just, they can be a challenge for a lot of people because their nose rules their life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's neat because that's genetics right there. It's just them wanting to like root through the world and explore it through like their smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it, why did like the German Shepherd, because I feel like it's just like a couple ticks off of like a Malinois. Like they have those same kind of drives, I feel like. But for some reason, German Shepherds it just exploded. Like everyone wanted a German Shepherd. Everyone still kind of wants a German Shepherd, I feel like. So I wonder where the popularity like really came in for those, like over like a Malinois or a Dutch.
Well, I think German, again, this is not my area of expertise by any means, but I think that the German Shepherd was intended, obviously, to be a working dog, but also a suitable family pet, right? So you needed more of that, like, stable, confident working breed, where the Malinois was bred to just be a machine, right? Like, it was just kind of like one of those dogs where it's like, this dog just needs to work all the time. And I think they started just, like, herding dogs and stuff, but slowly evolved into that. But you might know more about this than I do, even.
I think a lot of it happens due to like media.
Yeah.
So where it becomes popular. So I feel like right now Malinois are becoming really popular because you see them in a lot of movies. You see this really badass dog that's like a streamlined like Ferrari of a German Shepherd, and they're just like, oh god, this is so sweet.
True.
I need this.
Yeah.
And it's not everybody can handle that. Like some people that get German Shepherds, Dobermans, Malinois, Dutchies. It's like maybe a Pomeranian would have been better.
Yeah, something
not what you get.
Yeah. Why don't you go with the standard lab?
The other thing that was really interesting to me is when I first started getting into training, I remember the guy that I worked for had like these like 3 different German Shepherds that he would board pretty regularly that were from this banging kennel down in, I think, Kentucky called Creative Kennels. And these 3 dogs were like the epitome of like the confident, stable German Shepherd, you know, like total working dog, but like not like what you're out there seeing all the time now where they're all like frantic and like can't control themselves and like leaking and loud and this and that. They were just like quiet, calm, right? And confident, but when they would work, it was just like boom, like explosion of energy. And it was so funny because like to me, I was like, man, like that's what a German Shepherd should be. Yeah. And then you start seeing all these other ones, like they're just like backyard bred and stuff, and it's just like, God, like how, like It's ridiculous. Like everybody just thinks like, oh, they're such a smart dog. They should be so good. But it's like you have just such a mess of one.
Yeah.
So what about like, like puppy socialization and stuff like that? What sorts of things do you do for socialization purposes? And what things do you do once you finish the training program with the dog and send the dog home? How do you kind of coach people through these are best practices for socializing this dog?
Yeah, so I try to socialize them with the dogs that I'm training in my house. I'll go to the daycare, watch dogs play, make sure it's safe. I'm not like a fan of dog parks. I'm not a fan of just like having people meet random dogs in the park, going for a walk or a hike. I just feel like it sets everyone up for failure when you don't know what you're getting yourself into. So I'm a big fan of just structure it, make it where it's someone you trust, a group you trust, whatever it is. I trust my dogs to not be assholes. So say just fine with puppies for whatever reason, but adult dogs, like, man, I don't care about you. So I just think for that, like the socialization part, I don't think people should focus on their dogs having friends, but they should work on the socialization of like environments and not needing to meet everything and everyone. I think that's huge because I feel like that's kind of what creates a lot of issues is that their dog gets this expectation of meeting everything and always being social. And then the owner wonders why their dog doesn't care about them at the other end of the leash.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing environmental socialization?
So I try to kind of take the dog everywhere with me. Once I know that they know it in my house, my yard, I'm like, okay, let's go try and push the boundaries. Let's go to a park. Let's go to Lowe's. Let's go to Home Depot. Okay, let's try maybe Hartville down there and see like what we're doing. And I just want them to be focused with me. I want to be confident. I want to be happy. I want them to want to go do things with me because that's kind of what owners want. They want their dog to be able to go everywhere with them. And I want to help them have that kind of relationship and set them up for that success.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I remember when I got Vinny, that was like my first experience to like truly learning about like environmental socialization and stuff. Like I got him, he's like 5 months old or something like that. And I took him freaking everywhere with me. And it's so funny because I did so much of that with him. Like when he was young, he to this day is the dog that if I have to take one of my dogs into like a truly public setting and like trust that they're going to be like confident and like not fazed by anything around them, like he's the one dog I would pick for it. And it's the one thing when we get people with puppies in that I'm constantly telling them is you gotta just get this dog so many different places and just make sure you're not having them interacting with everything. Right? You want to be the most interesting thing in every single one of those settings, and you want your dog to see literally everything else around you like furniture, you know?
And I like making dogs just climb on random things. Like, I feel like that builds their confidence a lot, and then getting rewarded for it. So, like, I'll make them climb the lumber. I'll make them climb up on random, like, mannequin stands and things like that. I just want the dogs to be confident. I want them to feel like that they can handle pretty much anything once they leave. So, like, with the go-homes, I try to make the go-homes, like, 2-3 hours long. If it's longer, that's fine, because that's what the owner paid for. They paid to be able to figure out how to communicate with their dog, how to learn what their dog knows, and how to be successful with them. Yeah. And I always encourage if the owners to text me, message me, something, send me updates, send me pictures, send me videos. And some do, and I love it because it makes me feel so happy to see like these dogs thrive. Like a Corso I trained, she was kind of like timid, and now she's like having her little floaty vest on at the pool, having a great time, hanging out with her family, going to like football games, just chilling. And it's just so gratifying to see that, to see people actually want to take their dog and do things, and knowing that like you helped be a part of that for them.
Yeah, 100%. There's been like, I feel like in the last couple of years, like a really big push on, you know, a lot of the climbing things, or like doing like the kind of like urban getting onto the playground, and there's a lot of like agility equipment work with dogs and things like that. And yeah, it's confidence building, which is phenomenal, but like past just that, I feel like it's such great like confidence in handler skills. You know what I mean? It's more so like, you know, you may be scared of this random park bench, or if I take you on the playground and walk you over the bridge that wobbles and stuff like that, right? But you start learning that even though you're scared of this, I am going to coach you through any of these things you're fearful of. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to lead you astray kind of thing. Yeah. And that's so much of it is you need to trust us to give you proper direction, and trust that things that are actually scary we'll handle for you. right? And if your dog can understand those two things from you by you pushing them past things that they're scared of irrationally and you advocating for them properly in situations where they're scared of things, like if you have a genetically skittish puppy and there's a person that's like, I want to go pet your puppy, it's so cute, and they're coming in all hot and you go, hey, fuck off.
I've had to do that a lot. Like, just coming in hot and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, you're just like,
slow
whoa,
down.
stop
No,
it
no,
right
no.
now, you know, before your dog has a chance to be like, oh, I'm getting nervous and I'm going to explode, right? Man, is that such a powerful tool where it incrementally then increases their confidence to those things over time. It's like people always ask like, well, how do I get my dog more tolerant of people out on the walk? I was like, well, first thing that happens is you make sure that you keep a bubble around your dog that nobody is allowed to go within, right? And if your dog's threshold is 10 feet away, you need to stop those people at 11 feet away, right? From there, as your dog stops feeling this sense of like, I'm so tense and stressed because I'm concerned this person's going to fuck with me all the time, and they start seeing, oh, you're handling this, I loosen up, what happens is that threshold increases. But a lot of people think that to increase that threshold and that dog's tolerance to people petting them and stuff like that, they need to have more of it happening, but in actuality, they just need to have more trust in you, you know?
I think another issue is that people put a lot of like their own emotions on their dog. So like they want their dog to be social. They want their dog to have play dates. They want their dog to do this. And that's like, what does your dog actually want that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. What does your dog actually want?
I'll just tell her, it's like, okay, this dog doesn't care about people. So if it's neutral, just let it be neutral. Don't force, you know, to be friends with everyone. It doesn't need that. Like it just needs you. It needs your family. Like you should just focus on that.
Yeah.
Like I don't care if my dog's like other people, like in the sense of I need to go meet them. I need to be annoying. I need to be up their ass and just know everything about them. Like that's not important to me. As long as I'm important to them, that's what matters to me.
100%.
Yeah.
What are the biggest issues or things that frustrate you in either send homes or follow-ups, or like the biggest hurdles that the owners have then taking the reins on things?
I trained a husky and it was going great. She's like, oh yeah, he broke out of his crate though. And she sends you a video and a picture of her house just fucking destroyed. And you're like, like, so maybe you zip tie the crate because it was a wire one. I'm like, or maybe we just get a different crate. But I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's just one of those ones where I'm like, okay, let me help you. Let me explain some things to give you a little advice. And it's just, but those are just things that happen. Like some people don't always follow up with it, and that's life.
Yeah. Yeah, stuff like that's hard. Like crate anxiety is always a tricky thing. I would say, honestly, out of a lot of the behavioral issues that you'll see, like crate anxiety is one of the toughest ones to really, really get under control. Because I think when you have dogs that have horrible crate anxiety issues, they're never going to love their crate. Like Vinny was so freaking bad in the crate when I first got, like so bad. It's like mind-boggling how bad he was.
Yeah.
Right? And he does not love his crate. Like he's in his crate downstairs right now, and he's got his e-collar on. And every now and then, if I hear him start getting restless down there and stuff like that, I need to give a correction for it. And he's super manageable with it at this point, but it's under strict management still. You know what I mean? If I just like don't do anything with it forever, like he'll revert back to those old crate anxiety ways, you know? But again, because dogs are creatures of habit and routine, we have clear routines as far as this is how we crate you, this is what you do in the crate, et cetera, et cetera. He's been able to adapt pretty well to those things where it's not a nuisance anymore. But like, I think a lot of people, like I remember one client in particular we worked with somewhat recently, did a board and train with us, crate anxiety issues. And this dog wasn't even that bad in the crate. Like it was like, just kind of would like make a lot of noise in it and this and that. And we got the dog to stop making noise in the crate. We got the dog to stop scratching like crazy in the crate and like injuring itself and stuff like that. But the dog would like periodically throughout the day, like get up and like start kind of like being a little restless and pacing around and stuff like that. And we would get like text updates from this person with like screenshots of her like camera on the dog while she wasn't home. Like, look, he's up pacing around. He shouldn't be doing that. I was like, he's fine. Put the fucking camera away. Like I probably don't even want to know what the hell Vinny is doing when I'm not home in his crate. Right. And it's just like, you know, like calibrating those expectations sometimes of like, again, with these types of things, it's not that your dog is anxious in the crate. That's the problem. It's that they're being harmful, right? They're self-mutilating themselves in it. They're breaking out of it, right? They're doing those types of things. That's the issue. And as long as we can get over those types of things, you're playing that long game of, we'll get you past these, and your dog is going to learn to tolerate it better and better and better. And Vinny is better than he was last year in the crate, and last year was better than he was the year before in the crate, et cetera, right? But perfection isn't the goal,
I think a lot of people, when they see their dog starting to act out, they feel bad.
Yeah.
And because they feel bad, then they let their dog out. And then their dog's like, fuck yeah, I got rewarded. I'm out. And then it just sets you back a few steps. So it's like, I always tell people, I'm like, put the crate somewhere where it's not going to bother you, where it's not going to be such a big deal to you. Because they're doing things with you that they might not do with me or someone else, because I've set boundaries, I've set structure, I've helped you realize, like, this isn't what's going to happen. This doesn't fly.
Yeah, for sure. I think another one of the biggest things I'll have a lot of people do with their dogs, and this is something I did with Vinny, because like Vinny, when I would let him out of the crate, would just get like really, really, really amped up and excited to see me. And, I would like, hey, how's it going? This, that, put his leash on, stuff like that. And I started just like letting him out of the crate and then just letting him like zip around and spin around for like 15 minutes where I just didn't even look at him. Like, I'm like, you're getting nothing from me in this moment. And I remember when I started doing that forever ago when I got him, I started seeing over the course of like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that initial anticipation of like coming out of the crate and something super exciting happening started to diminish, where he got out and he's like excited to be out, but he wasn't pushing me anymore for anything. He wasn't constantly trying to get anything from me. And it completely shifted his behavior, like when I got home in the first place with stuff. Because I think a lot of people do the opposite, where dog will be in the crate, right? And they're like, well, I'm going to wait to let you out of the crate until you're calm, which I get, right? And obviously there's benefit to doing that. But the problem is, if you sit there for 15 minutes until your dog's in a calm state of mind, and then you let them out of the crate and you get them all excited again, it's just going to make it take 25 minutes to get them calm the next time, and then 35 minutes to get them calm the next time, because you're not addressing the root of the problem, which is, why is the dog getting so amped up to get out of the crate in the first place? Those types of things are always interesting as far as like figuring out what that actual like solution to some of those issues are,
I try to help owners understand things. I'm like, it's almost like taking a Polaroid, like a picture, like take a picture of that moment of what your dog is doing and kind of assess it and see like, why are they doing it?
Yep.
Because they kind of learn just through trial and error. It's like, this worked, this worked, this worked. And that's why you get a lot of bad behaviors, because it worked. They felt fulfilled. They got something out of it. For them, it was a positive experience.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that. Like, they don't understand, like, oh, my dog ate chicken off the counter and then they had a $5,000 vet bill. That's bad. The dog looks at it like, I got the fucking chicken off the counter.
Oh, yeah. 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 I mean, there's a reinforcement behind everything. Like every behavior that your dog exhibits has been reinforced at some point. That's the reason why they do it. And if you could get a puppy and you could be aware of that every interaction with your dog, you're either reinforcing or discouraging something, then you can make sure you set yourself up for success and make sure that, okay, cool, what do I want my puppy to not do? Puppy biting, let's say, right? If you go into that, getting that puppy keenly aware that that's something you absolutely do not want your dog to do, and you understand that most of your interactions with your dog are some form of reinforcement, you could make sure that behavior never gets reinforced, and then you could decrease the chances of you needing to be super firm on the dog later to correct it, So you kind of got to like reverse engineer like pretty much any behavioral issue that you don't want your dog to exhibit when you get that young dog. And that's so much of what we do like in our puppy program with people, is just teaching them to think backwards. Like, we want to prevent behavioral issues later on. So in order to prevent them, right, we have to understand how they got there in the first place, and then we have to understand how do we stop those things, right? So that we could create then the structure necessary in order to create a plan for you to follow to not have it happen in the first place.
That's why I always recommend the owners keeping like a leash on their puppy for the longest time, because I feel like it's one of the most underutilized tools.
100%.
Because like, you're going to scream no at your dog from across the room and they're still getting what they want, then your word meant nothing to them. How are you going to stop them? Yeah,
100%. And you could just prevent so much stuff from happening, right? Like, your dog can't go and get in the trash can while you're working at your computer if the leash is tethered to your chair, right? When we got Waffles, we had that dude live on a fucking leash for the first probably like 2 months that we had him, right? And he never went out of sight, never got into anything. We housebreaked him so fucking quick because there was no sneaking off and going around the couch and like pissing on the floor or anything like that. Like, it just made everything so much easier. It's like, you got to just put in the heavy lifting up front with those puppies,
And I feel like it's not as hard as everyone thinks. Is you can back tie the leash to things. You can stop them from doing things. Like that's how I'll train duration for some puppies. I'll like back tie the leash to a table or something, and I'll play video games for like an hour just to like have them out with me and have them understand that they don't have to be in my skin. They don't have to be on top of me. That they can be okay 10 feet away from me, tied to something on a cot, hanging out, and just throwing food at them every so often, rewarding them for it.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Just shaping that expectation of what you want them to do, which a lot of should be just existing in the house.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So obviously you're just doing puppies and stuff right now. Obviously you do some of the working dog stuff. Do you have, I know you said you have some trainers that kind of work there and stuff that do behavioral stuff, things like that. Do you have any interest in getting into those types of things yourself?
Yes and no. I feel like it's a very big labor of love. I feel like it's you have to put so much of yourself into that. And like you said, the success rate, how much people keep up with it. I feel like that could be very just not great for me mentally. I just feel like, cool, I did all this work and oh, your dog mauled the kid next door still? Yeah. That's great, thanks. Like, you know, like I just would because you still probably feel responsible to some extent. You're like,
100%.
we did all we could. We did a lot. And then this happens. And you're like, fuck. So while there are areas of it that interest me, I'm not at that point yet where like I want to just be like, yes, let me do all these tough cases.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's a difference between, like obviously you get into like seriously like dangerous dogs and stuff like that. I think the thing is a lot of people kind of make it seem like there's so many more of those than there actually is. Like yes, like people are getting bit, dogs are getting bit, stuff like that. But some of these really extreme cases, it's just like so many people are out there like, oh, look at this aggressive dog I have. Look at this aggressive dog I have. Oh, I just fixed this seriously human aggressive dog and stuff like that. And it's like, well, the dog actually really wasn't that aggressive. You know what I mean?
It's just were
like,
they more fearful of everything?
Yeah. Or they're just like really misunderstood, like any of these dogs, like even a lot of these puppies and stuff like that. Like we were talking about genetics, right? Like some of them that are a little bit more skittish or a little bit more confident and stuff like that. Like there's a high probability that they might try to bite somebody or bite another dog or something like that later on, no matter how much socialization you do with them, right? So I always I try to encourage newer trainers and stuff like that, get a baseline understanding of working through behavioral issues, because I do think to some extent, every case is a behavioral case. You know what I mean? Whether it's proactively working to make sure you're avoiding serious issues like that later on, or you just get that one dog that develops that behavioral issue later on, or whatever it may be. And we work with a lot of dogs that, say a puppy, right? That like owner did everything right when the dog was young, and, dog's 10 months old, 11 months old, and we get the call, like they started going through maturity, they started getting more confident, and like suddenly it's like, whoa, this just came out of left field. Like dog's been fine with this its whole life, and suddenly is now growling at the guests coming in the house or whatever, got into a dog fight, with the neighbor's dog or any number of those types of things. And I think the more you know about behavioral stuff, you could avoid that. Or, like I said, when it does happen, if the dog has that genetic kind of quirk built into them to some extent, you could then be able to like really effectively give proper information to like avoid it, So I like that kind of stuff. But I do think that, like the serious behavioral stuff, like it is draining. And honestly, like especially if you're doing stuff out of your house, like you don't want a fucking dog like that in your house. That's another thing too. Like in a facility setting, it's a little bit easier as you're working through it. But
definitely, we have a trainer that's her bread and butter. That's what she does. She specializes in behavioral, and like I love watching and learning from her because it has made me become a better trainer. Sure. So that's just what I try to do, is just network with as many people as possible, because I feel like there's always something to learn from everyone. Like I'm never going to have all the answers. So that's why I'm happy that we have such a diverse group, even though it's small at my facility, because I can go to these people and nobody cares if I ask another trainer, if whoever, hey, what do you think? Second set of eyes, what's your opinion? Yeah. So it's just very open-minded.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's super cool. Anything else, Josh, you can think of? Well, listen, what sort of last information do you want the people to know about anything? Like, obviously, where can they find more information about you? Is there any burning thoughts you have of listen, if there's one thing you take away from this, take this away from this? Give us some closing notes here.
For me, it's just the power of like motivating your dog and just utilizing your leash. I feel like a lot of people feel like failures when they have to like clip the leash back on their dog. So it's just it's not a failure. It's just a growing point.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, is utilizing your fucking leash. I think if there's one thing people that get puppies need to do more of, it's just keep your dog on a goddamn leash. You know? Like, just keep it on a leash. If you keep a leash on your dog in the house, goddamn, will you have so many less issues with your dog. Remember when we filled like 9 gazillion puppies and we had Waffles back tied to that chair leg right there, and he just fucking chilled while we filmed so many different podcasts. And he was able to do that because he had a leash on him.
See?
Yep.
So if you want your dog to be able to be calm while you film a 2-hour-long podcast or while you work from home or do any of those things, get a leash on your puppy, back tie it to something, and you'll be fine. So listen, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Do you just do everything from your personal Instagram and stuff? Or?
Yep. RS-Canine Ohio Leah. I think that's what it is.
RS-Canine Ohio Leah. Is there any underscores or periods or anything like that?
God, let me check.
Oh, no.
I'm really bad at selling myself, let me tell you. So RS-Canine Ohio, period. Leah.
Love it.
Got it.
Hell yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on.